What up, though, Pride Nation? Welcome to Luke G's Field Review. We are back at it this time with a special guest, somebody that I am beyond excited to have on the show. We are on with fellow YouTuber for the Green Bay Packers, Tom Grossi. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And it's always good to see more NFC North YouTubers popping up by the day. It's always a good thing.
Man, listen, it's so crazy because one of the things that I was so excited to do when I started my YouTube channel was to be able to talk to other people who know football and talk football. And on top of that, you are funny as all get out. So, I tell people all the time that it's good to be able to watch other people's channels because you learn things from those channels.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
now here's the thing. I know that there's going to be some questions that's going to jump out from the people in the chat. I know the chat is going to get filled up really quick. I got to do some quick house business. For those who are in the chat, we are still doing the Detroit Lions Roundtable. That would be on the Gridiron Blitz starting at 8 p.m. Okay, so we will still be on there. So all the people in the chat, the Beast Modes, the D Williams, the Greg Gores, the Riskies, the Izzos, the Green Phantom, the Marcus Willis, the Lions Roar. What up, though? All right, now here's this thing. The reason I really wanted to have Mr. Grossi on from the Packers is because Mr. Grossi did a video recently talking about a particular tight end, and it got my attention really big, and I had already been watching his stuff, but that particular video got me started. Now, Mr. Grossi, for the people who don't know, who is that player that you said that your Packers should take at 12?
That is Mr. Iowan tight end TJ Hawkinson. That is the man we are referring to.
And why do you think they should take that guy?
Well, I mean, considering the Packers haven't had a legit tight end since 2010, ever since Jermichael Finley got hurt, and then we've kind of just been patching that open wound with Band-Aids of Jared Cook or Lance Kendricks or Jimmy Graham, who obviously was injured last year, but wasn't really putting up great numbers to begin with, that we don't have that threat, and we haven't had that threat in quite some time. And this man looks like the total package, and I could justify taking him at 12, considering his blocking ability looks to be phenomenal. And plus, we could always use some offensive line help, so he can help us there. And we also wind up having a great passing threat as well.
So for you, taking a tight end at 12 don't seem crazy at all, and particularly if it's this tight end.
A month ago, I would not be saying, yes, let's take TJ Hawkinson, because I would have said there's way too many holes within the Packers team to be like, okay, yeah, let's spend it on a tight end where we could potentially get somebody later. But considering how active we were in free agency, which is the most active we've been in free agency since I've been a fan of the Packers.
You are not lying about that.
Yeah, like since I was born. I was like, you know what? We addressed some issues. Obviously, there could be more depth at safety. We could have some more help on inside linebacker. But if Hawkinson falls to us, and depending on who else is on the board at the time, I could totally justify taking him at 12, considering that he is that all-around package. He's not just a pass threat, or he's not just a blocking tight end. He's both. And I think that's such a rare thing to have. And we signed Mercedes Lewis again for another year, who was not even used in Mike McCarthy's offense. And he's a blocker. Like that's his job. And you have Jimmy Graham, who we hope to be that deep threat or down the middle or the seam or what have you. But I don't have a lot of confidence in Jimmy Graham. I didn't have a lot of confidence in him last year when we signed him. And I think if you can get a young guy who even sits behind Jimmy Graham, and kind of rotates in and out, on third down, something like that, I really don't see the problem with drafting him at 12 if he turns out to be the future of the position.
Now, it's funny you say that, because one of the viewers says, we must take him, Packers, you shall not pass, in Gandalf voice. So so it is funny, man, because I brought up the idea of the tight end probably about 2 months ago, and I got hammered. And I know a lot of people came around to it eventually, but overall, I had a lot of people who hammered me about it, and it was like, hey, there's no way they should take a tight end. I said, I'm not saying take any tight end. I'm saying take this tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it got me to thinking. It got me to thinking about the division, because I seen that the Packers had brought in Preston Smith, and they brought in Zadarius Smith, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, and I'm gonna be honest, none of the free agents y'all signed scared me, to be honest. But it got me to thinking about the division. What team in the division, in your opinion, kind of gives you the most like fear or concern?
Well, I feel like, again, if you asked me this before last season started, it's the Vikings, right? Like they go to the NFC Championship game. They look like they're building a team, that's going to be like Dalvin Cook obviously got injured. And we were like, oh man, when he comes back the following year, like they're going to have an amazing run game. They were already establishing the receiver game, and they were able to get to a championship game with their backup quarterback. And so I was like, oh, it's definitely the Vikings. And then Khalil Mack gets signed. And even then, like halfway through last season, I'm like, no, it's not the Bears. Like they don't do anything. Like they can't be good. Like, I had a Lions fan on my show last year, and we barely talked about the Lions and the Packers. We literally just crapped all over the Bears, and we're like, there's no way they're winning this division. It's fine. They're gonna blow it. And look what happened. So I think, out of those right now, it's the Bears division to lose. They have a young team. They have Trubisky on a rookie contract, so they're able to afford him. They're not losing too many guys. Yeah, they lost Fangio, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world for them, considering that defense is pretty much stacked. If I'm looking at any weaknesses, I mean, honestly, it is Trubisky. I don't think like he's that elite quarterback, and I don't think he's ever going to be. But at the same time, I don't think he has to be for that team either. If they're built around, a strong run game or just that strong defense, they don't need to put up 35 points every single game in order to win because their defense is doing the brunt of the work for them. So with all that said, just because they won the division and because, again, I still see that defense being just as vicious, I'm going to have to go with the Bears.
See, for me, I don't really have a concern or a team that scares me, because I think the Lions are taking a step in the right direction and running the ball. And I think the fact that they're running the ball is going to open up so much more. It eliminates the pass rush of those players that have been picked up, the Khalil Macks, the Zadarius Smiths, the Griffin and Hunter. It eliminates that when you run the ball. Now, I do get a viewer who wants to know, what are your thoughts on Matthew Stafford? Because one of the big stories here in Michigan is that the Dolphins tried to trade for Matthew Stafford, and our local media is horrible. They give the most negative reviews on Stafford. What is your personal opinion of Matthew Stafford? Is one of the questions from one of the viewers.
Yeah, so I think Matthew Stafford is like a grossly underrated quarterback. I mean, that guy, like, if we're just talking about durability, the guy is tough as hell. Like, your offensive line like hates him for whatever reason. I feel like I don't know if you've ever seen. There's this old movie called Airplane. It's like like there's a scene where there's like an unruly passenger, and there's a line of people like with a baseball bat and like brass knuckles, like ready to kick this person's ass. And I feel like the offensive line is just like, sure, go ahead, go right at Matthew Stafford, because like that man gets sacked so many times. And like, it seems like they never help him out. You guys like haven't had a running game. Last year was a little bit better. You're taking that step, but like you guys haven't had a reliable running back. It's either been by committee or attempting to have a solo guy. And I feel like he has so little to no help, especially after Megatron left. And I think like he has the arm, he has the durability, and I think he just hasn't had a team, built around him to really suit his needs and his skills.
And it's funny you say that, because one of the reasons I'm even on YouTube is because one of the guys that I roll with, which is the Gridiron Blitz, aka Derrick P. He had this whole video about why he hates Stafford, and majority of the people that I have interviewed have had a I hate Stafford video, which is funny. And we all come on and we talk now. We all get along and stuff, because I told him like, hey, here's a guy, when he had a 100-yard rusher, he's 11-1. So, and the one that he lost was the kicker missed a 20-yard field goal. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to ask you this question: what moves do you think the Lions can make that would give you some concern? Is there anybody that they can draft or that they can pick up that would give you some concern? Because there was one player that I prayed that the Packers did not get, and that was Le'Veon Bell. I felt if y'all got a running back, Lord help us. But for you, is there any one player that Lions could have gotten that would have gave you some concern or scared you?
Well, like, It's so I always find the Lions to be like an enigma because like I feel like they're always like they should be so much better than they actually are. And
Right.
what I mean by that is like I don't know why the Lions are failing every year. I'm just anticipating that they're going to fail every year. And listen, I'm saying that like fully aware that you guys like have kicked our ass, in the past like 2 years. I'm
Yes.
fully
Yes.
aware of that. But you look at that team, and for whatever reason, whether it's the coach, whether it's the defensive coordinator, whether it's the lack of the running game, whether it's your secondary, there's always just seemed to be like one hurdle that they can't get, like they just can't put it together. And I think when you got Matt Patricia, it was like, okay, like maybe this is a step in the right direction. You're going to start doing it. Like you got Trey Flowers over the during the free agency. I think there's a huge boost to that team. I really can't figure the Lions out. And that might just be because I'm so concerned with the Vikings and the Bears that I'm just not paying attention enough. But
Right.
I feel like even when you've had all those pieces, you're still not able to put it together for whatever reason. So I think saying like, what could you guys get that would actually like give me concern? I don't know, because you put a player on your team that, could be like an amazing pass rusher or an amazing cornerback or what have you. And I'd still be like, well, I feel like the Lions are still going to screw it up in some way. Just because, again, I'm so used to it. And that's not like a complete knock on your team. It's just like, I don't know why you haven't like been better in recent years. Like, I don't know why you haven't put it together yet. Whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the defensive line. Like, I truly don't know. Because when I do watch your team, I was like, okay, here they go. Like, and I talk to Lions fans every year, and they're like, this is our year. We're going to do it. And then at the end of the year, we're just like, so either third and the fourth of division, like here we are again.
And I think what you're saying is it's just simple. It's a lack of a run game. I think the Lions have been one dimensional for the most part. And I think when I did my first breakdown I got a video which is in 3 parts called "Put Respect on Matthew Stafford's Name." I did that because I had to show people that even when Aaron Rodgers won, y'all had a defense, a running back, and a tight end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Lions have not given that to our quarterback, yet he has this high standard that he's supposed to carry us to the promised land. And I'm like, with what? What team did you think we were supposed to get carried on? And even the game where we lost to Matt Flynn, I'm thinking to myself, like, we were killing y'all in the run in the first half, and he got the ball twice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like what sums it up for me, and listen, the Packers have their fair share of doing this too, but like Eric Ebron, right? Like that guy is like, I feel like the epitome of the Lions, in that they drafted him first round, anticipating huge things for him, right? And he never really was able to get there. I think like in the 4 years he had, like I think like just
4 years.
Yeah, like 10 touchdowns, like 11 something like that. Like he had like not even a dozen touchdowns with you guys. And now he goes to the Colts, and the first year he's putting up like record numbers for himself. He's putting up double-digit touchdowns in one season, and he's like going to like the Pro Bowl. And you look at that, and you're like, okay, well, why didn't he succeed in Detroit? And I think that just speaks to the point I was just saying about, again, like putting a team around him, or maybe it's scheming, just the idea of they're not calling the right.
It's actually scheming. It's absolutely scheming, because when I watched the Colts were designing plays to go to him. And for some reason, when he was here, when they designed plays to go to him, he dropped it. That was the biggest issue for us when it came to Ebron. Ebron was just dropping passes left and right for us. There were so many games. Even when you go back to last year, in the Colts playoff game, he had 2 crucial touchdowns that he just dropped.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at this. So like, like he would drop almost, so for example, like his first year, he was targeted 47 times and only had 25 receptions. Like, and like some of those are going to be like, defended and stuff like that. But you're just like, I don't know about that. So like, again, is it just that he miraculously got better? I think, again, when you have a player like Eric Ebron, who's obviously having success with the Colts, and yes, they are targeting him. They targeted him 110 times last year. Those are ridiculous numbers. So I think, there is a bit of like, he got better, but the scheming is also better. But I feel like you need to not only just get the player, and I think you can do this under Matt Patricia, but like you need to freaking call the plays for him. It's kind of like how we just got Jimmy Graham, and yes, he was injured and stuff like that. But under Mike McCarthy, like ever since Finley, there has not been any good tight ends or any schemes that would make the tight end successful. even when we had Jared Cook, like the guy had 1 touchdown all year, where he's always remembered for that one play
that one
against
catch.
Dallas,
Yep.
but he had 1 touchdown.
Yep, and I think too often what I love about your view in terms of what our team has is you are outside person with no invested interest in the team, but you see value in our quarterback, and our fan base want the quarterback gone. It's interesting for me to hear you talk about how we bring in the talent, but we're not utilizing them right. And I think to me that's one of the issues that I have always had, and then trying to help people understand that coaching is the most important thing. Like I have a huge issue when people say, look at Aaron Rodgers' win-loss record. And I'm like, how do you give a quarterback a win-loss record? That's not a stat. It's no way, it's a team sport. And so, but that brings me to this next question, because you talk about the tight ends and things like that. So this draft is coming up. Who do you want the Packers to take?
I mean, my dream scenario for the first round is TJ Hawkinson is miraculously still there at 30.
No, I keep telling you no.
30. Like that'd be amazing. And then if we're just going like pure dream scenarios here, like we get Devin White, which if there's anybody the Lions are taking, I think you guys would probably take Devin White if he's still on the board, just because he's a monster. And I think like he's going to be a really damn good player. But if we could get either one of those guys, I'd be super stoked about that, whether it's going to help the offense or it's going to, again, kind of give some more depth. The fact that we lost Clay Matthews, even though he hasn't really been productive. You can never have too many good linebackers. And, I feel like if we're able to get like a Devin White or hell, there's a video coming out tomorrow about Brian Burns. But the problem with Brian Burns for me is that like he's a very one-dimensional player. He's very good at what he does, and he gets a crap ton of sacks and is constantly getting at the quarterback. But again, he's not really great in the run defense. And so because of that, like I can't justify using it at 12. But like a guy like Hawkinson or hell, like Ed Oliver or Devin White, I could totally justify that because you're like, okay, these guys are really good.
And it's crazy you say that because like I did a film study on Devin White, and I had a lot of love for Devin White because I had heard all the hype from the media. But when I watched tape at the tape, I just saw him overrun play at the play. And a lot of his tackles were all assist tackles. And I was like, okay, he got a lot of assist tackles. And then there were like these plays. They said, well, he's great at rushing the passer. And I couldn't find one clip of him actually getting to the quarterback and getting him down. He overran them every time. And it was irritating me. It was so irritating me.
Yeah, because I feel like, Devin White for me was a guy that, like, and again, I don't watch college football. I literally just find out about these guys, like, as the draft comes about. So, like, the first 2 seasons that he had, right, still developing. But, like, by the end, like, because I saw that too of, like, holy crap, like, 2018, he had 123 assisted tackles. So you're like, oh, wow, that's really good. I mean, 62 of them, though, were solo. I mean, like 62 tackles by yourself is pretty impressive. So,
look, Tom, I don't want to give you who I'm high on, because if you watch some of my videos, you will see and you would know who my linebacker is of choice. So I'm hoping I don't even want you bringing his attention to your fan base. I want you to keep y'all people don't understand. Tom got him a nice little set of subscribers, and I don't need him generating no buzz for his team to get the people that I like. That's what I don't want to happen.
So you're like a Devin Bush guy, or?
Nah, can't. Nah, you know what? I tell you, to be honest with you, I can even tell you because I've been tracking who y'all been going to visit in pro days and who y'all visit at the draft. In fact, I've tracked the whole entire division, and for me, the best linebacker in this draft is Khalil Hodge out of Buffalo. He's the best linebacker. You should take a look at him. I think you would really appreciate what he brings to the table. And again, Khalil Hodge, man, he's the real deal. I don't see a lot of those flaws in his games. I know some people say, oh, he had a 40 or 5 something on the 40-yard dash. I said, yeah, but watch the
40-yard dash means nothing. For a linebacker, it means literally nothing.
Exactly.
The 3 cone is more important, if anything, because there's never if a linebacker is running 40 yards in a straight line, there's a significant problem. That means that he's chasing someone going to the end zone, and the coverage was blown. So again, people put way too much stock. And again, if you're a wide receiver, sure, I could see 40-yard dash being important. If you're a quarterback and you're a scrambling guy, sure, I could see 40-yard dash. But again, there's did be very few times where a linebacker is running unimpeded to a quarterback and or is running anywhere close to 40 yards. So again, it kind of is irrelevant.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people who want the Montez Sweat, and I'm like, this guy doesn't have a pass rush. He just tries to run around people,
Yeah.
And then they talk about people like Rashard Gary. Now, I personally have made it clear that, surprisingly, I don't know if you saw this or not, Tom, but all the players the Lions have spoken to, the Green Bay Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears have spoken to. Literally. Literally. Like all the tight ends, y'all have talked to Noah Fant. We've all talked to Noah Fant. Y'all talked to TJ Hockenson. We talked to TJ Hockenson. Y'all talked to the guy from Georgia, Isaac Nata. We talked to him. Yeah. It's almost like everybody we talk to, y'all are purposely talking to, man. I don't understand it.
Well, I think the NFC North is very incestuous. Like we do like, like swap around a bunch of players, and we just like, again, like obviously the latest one, like Clinton Dix going to the Bears, but you had a couple of our offensive linemen, we've had people, obviously like Brett Favre to the Vikings, but I think it's one of those things that because you play those teams 2 times a year, every year, that you get to know them well. And obviously like you have more tape on them as well, and firsthand playing experience against them. So once they get released or, they run out their contract, sometimes they're the first call. When it comes to the draft, I mean, I guess just great minds think alike.
Yeah, it is funny. I got one of my people. He said, "Look, man, don't tell the cheese, man. Listen, I'm not worried about it, man. I really am not worried about it because to be honest with you, the needs for the Packers are so crazy that I can see them going a number of ways. But I know that tight end is number 1 on their list because Aaron Rodgers without that tight end is suspect. And I know if TJ Hockenson fall to the Packers at 12, he's going to be the pick. I just know it. It's no way they're going to bypass all that, especially when they're trying to run the ball and do things like that. So I would not be shocked in that realm at all. Now, here's my thing. We've had free agency. We know that we are all in the same division. What is your overall view as you look at the division now at the free agency? I mean, do you still feel like the Bears is the team to worry about, or are you looking at the free agency and saying, hey, this team is making me take notice?
Yeah, I think, I feel like if I just go through each team real quick, I feel like the Lions are the team, like, and I'm sorry to use this word, but like kind of like in rebuild mode, in a sense that like you just got a new head coach, last year. You're trying to find that identity, and you had like glimpses of that, right? Like you beat the Patriots. Like who beats that's a thing. But you're trying to find your identity, getting weapons for Matthew Stafford, shoring up that defense. And I feel like you're the Bears from like a year ago, right? And that like you're just missing like that one really, really good player, and that could at least like get you into the playoff contention. But I don't know, because I also thought that the Bears, even with Khalil Mack, wouldn't be ready for the playoffs, and I was dead wrong. So I'm totally used to being wrong, and that's totally fine. Right. When it comes to the Lions, like that's where they're at right now. For the Vikings, God, listen, I will be the first one to tell you, as soon as they signed Kirk Cousins, I was the happiest person in the NFC North. Because I was like, you idiots just wasted $84 million guaranteed on
every penny.
Cousins.
Every penny.
And I'm like, and I'm like, 84 million. Like again, that was the most idiotic move. And listen, all support and love for Kirk Cousins' agent, because that man deserves a raise, he deserves a yacht, and at least 3 vacation homes for getting $84 million. And I think that just speaks to the overall NFL as a whole, that we will overpay mediocre quarterbacks because there's such a need, and they're so rare to just have a competent quarterback behind center that you'll have the Vikings. So yeah, anyway, when it comes to the Vikings, I'm not like, I feel like I should be more concerned about them, but considering how unproductive Dalvin Cook was last year and how they couldn't get their offense together, obviously Thielen emerged and was like insanely good, but then they fell off and wind up not even making the playoffs. I feel like they'll be in contention, but when it comes to the Bears, their offense doesn't scare me at all. It's the defense. But on top of that, we played a year now with Khalil Mack, and the one hope I have is I am so happy that we have a new head coach, we have a new offensive coordinator. Like, I just feel like the Packers team that's going to take the field this year is going to be very different. Whether that's a positive or a negative, I don't know yet. But I feel like I'm just so happy that I'm going to see something new, and it's not going to be a Mike McCarthy inspired team. And listen, I like Mike McCarthy a lot, but I don't think there's a single Packer fan out there that would say, yeah, this last year, these last 2 years, he was really inspiring and made this team really play well. Because that's just not what it is. I saw a team that gave up last year, that wasn't in it, and that was an Aaron Rodgers, quote unquote, healthy year. Obviously, he had a messed up leg, but again, I think there was no excuse for how bad that some of those games were. Like that Cardinals game, like if McCarthy wasn't fired after that, I'm like, they're going to re-sign him, because I didn't understand what I was seeing on the field of like pro athletes just giving up. So I'm very excited just to see what LaFleur can do with that team and what direction they're going to take it in. And this may be a rebuilding year for us. Like, I hate to say that, but I'm very realistic that it's a brand new team. It's a brand new system. It's a lot of brand news. But I think that everyone's on the same page now of like, hey, Aaron Rodgers has X amount of years left. Let's try to get him another Super Bowl ring instead of saying, hey, Aaron, just go and win us and get us into the playoffs like you do every year, and we're not going to put a team around you.
And I think when you take that approach from it, what you're talking about is you're not putting the onus on your quarterback, you're blaming the coach. And I think that's what us Lions fans should do. I think we should always look at the coach first, because they talk about Jim Caldwell, but I'm like, Jim Caldwell never had a 100-yard rusher in his 4 years being here. How's that possible? The Dallas Cowboys had a 100-yard rushing game 8 times in one season.
Yeah.
And so for us not to have one in 4 years, that just seems almost next to impossible. And then on top of that, when I look at the division, I go through and I just say, if the Lions get back to running the ball, we have enough weapons to beat those teams. I do think that the Packers are in the rebuild season, and I think a lot of what you saw is because they didn't run the ball, but I think the Lions have the receivers to destroy your cornerbacks. Those rookie cornerbacks that everybody wants the Detroit Lions to take, they didn't do too well for y'all when y'all took those big 6'3" rookie cornerbacks. They was getting exposed a lot. And by Kenny Galladay at that. And then when I go to the Vikings, I'm like you. I mean, they haven't done anything that makes me want to look at them differently. So yeah, we're gonna bring the run game with them. And the Bears, in my opinion, there's nothing offensively that makes me worry about them, but they was able to run the ball last year and play defense. So to me, I can see us being in a position where we do something a little bit different. Now, by the way, people, we are on the mic with Green Bay Packers YouTuber Tom Grossi. Even if you do not like the Green Bay Packers, and if you're Lions fans, you probably don't like myself. You should still check out his channel, because it's about sports, but it's comedy, it's funny, it's all get out. I think it's absolutely hilarious when he does the reaction videos. I'm surprised he didn't do one for the Lions when the Lions blew them out at the end of blew out the Packers, but he did one about the Packers' reaction to the loss, and it was hilarious. So
there's a Lions one up there.
The Lions one up there. Okay, yeah. See, I probably missed that one. I got to go check that one out, because I was rolling. I really did die laughing. And also, we are still doing the round table. That is going to start, should start either now or in the next few minutes on the Gridiron Blitz. So please check that out. Hey, Tom Grossi, man, I appreciate your time, man. I look forward to when the season starts, because we got to do this more often so we can be able to have good dialogue like this. Now, my last question for you before we get off this thing, and I go over to my roundtable with my fellas is this: if you did not have Aaron Rodgers, you, the fan, would you be okay taking Matthew Stafford as your quarterback?
Yes.
You wouldn't have no problems with it.
Nope, because and I want to just make something also, like, I just want to touch on another point real quick about Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't put the entire onus on the coaching team, because Aaron Rodgers did not play like Aaron Rodgers last year. He was still great. but like he wasn't, you know what I mean when I'm saying like Aaron Rodgers,
right? No, I mean he led the league in throwaways. I think he did that on purpose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, like so like what? God, watching every single game, like he overthrew a lot of people, and I mean open people. So like again, he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing like himself. But I have preached this for 4 years that I've been doing this. Is that if Aaron Rodgers was not on our team, we would not have made the playoffs since 2000 and was the last time 7 when we were in the NFC Championship game. We would not have sniffed the playoffs because Aaron Rodgers, ever since 2010, we had a good defense because we won the Super Bowl. But after that, our defense has been atrocious. And there have been times literally when Aaron Rodgers has thrown that entire team on his back and it's like, don't worry, guys, I'm going to do it all. Like the run the table season or even 2011 when he was lighting people up and setting records. But I think Matthew Stafford, again, I feel like the Lions and Packers are really related because you're expecting Matthew Stafford to be Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying that as a slight. I'm saying is that you're saying, like you were saying before, about your quarterback being able to do it all, put the team on his back, and take me to the playoffs and take me to the Super Bowl without putting a team around him. The Packers did that because they had a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that can do that. But unfortunately, it's not sustainable. You can't have a team that's revolved around one player, no matter how good they are. The Patriots don't win all those Super Bowls because of Tom Brady. They win Super Bowls because they put a damn good team around him year after year after year and give him the opportunity to be Tom Brady. But again, that's not the norm, right? Tom Brady's not the norm, but Bill Belichick's not the norm. And again, in whatever team it is, one player can't be the entire team. It can't define the team because you're not going to win Super Bowls that way.
And I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. And I even with Aaron Rodgers, I said, hey, what you're seeing right now, in my opinion, as it pertains to Aaron Rodgers and him carrying the team, I said, listen, go and look at what they did in terms of running the ball because they were suffering until they switched over and put they put the receiver at the running back position, and it changed everything.
Montgomery, yeah.
So when they did that, that changed everything, man. So again, I do appreciate you coming on, and being able to be a part of the conversation, and once again have open dialogue that's intelligent and not malicious and being honest about it. And can't wait for the regular season to get started because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to do this again and talk about the matchup. And again, I just couldn't thank you enough. Again, I'm on with Tom Grossi. I'm gonna link his channel in my description. Y'all have to check it out, if for nothing else, for good laughs, man. And again, I just appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. This was fantastic. I had a great time, and we'll talk definitely when the regular season begins.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for my segment right now. I'm going to go switch over to the Gridiron Blitz so we can do the Detroit Lions Roundtable. So please go over to the Gridiron Blitz. We're going to take all your questions there, and I'll see you over there. Thanks again, Tom.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, don't be no chump. Please do your research.